Well, hello everybody. It's Saturday, June 24th of 2023. And it's been a little bit of a hot day today, so I haven't gotten as much done as I would have liked to. But now that some of the weeds that I took care of yesterday have dried out a little bit, you can tell the difference a little bit better in the area I weeded versus in the area that I haven't weeded. So obviously there's still a lot of work left to do, but I decided to actually go ahead and slack off on some other things today to weed this area over here. As I mentioned, I am going to put in just some vegetables for myself for this year. So some of these seeds are at least 3 years old, some of them. So like I have some cilantro that I'm trying to get in, and 2 different types of cucumbers and some zucchini. And those seeds I bought for a garden prior to when I left Scary Farmhouse some time ago. So those seeds are about 3 years old. Now I do have some newer seeds, so like in between these bell peppers that will hopefully grow up nice and big. I'm going to try to get some horehound started, which is in the mint family. There is a local shop here that sells a brand of really old-fashioned candies that has a horehound flavor, and we actually oftentimes use those as cough drops because they're just super tasty. And I love making lacto-fermented homemade sodas. And, I want to get a sassafras tree one day, but I don't have that. But, I figured I would try to make some horehound soda and just see how it works out. It is medicinal, and it's got some multiple uses. Now, down in here in the shady area, I have something called gomchui planted, and it's kind of a Korean/Asian vegetable, and I don't know how it is going to start this late. It is something that you typically germinate in the shade. So I'm going to see how it goes. These are a perennial, but only down to zone 7, and I'm in zone 5. So if I wanted to try to get these going every year, like let's say I decide that I like how they taste, because I kind of just want to try them out, then I'll be able to dig up the roots and try to maybe overwinter them in like a huge pot in the basement, and then put them back out in the spring. So we'll see how that goes. But I did have some, well, first of all, in the pots of the new seeds that I got, I wasn't actually able to get any of my sage seeds to germinate. So I'm just going to try a little bit. There's not a whole lot of seeds in the package that I got, so I just have a little bit out here because I want to set some back. And then I had some old bronze fennel seeds that I went ahead and put in there. And then over here, I have some newer seeds for a vegetable called Korean perilla. Okay, and it gets a little bit taller and it likes the shade, so since the bronze fennel is going to get nice and tall, I figured I would just put it over here and it'll do okay. Now the gomchui and things like that, I may go ahead after they germinate and thin out these branches just a little bit so that they get more sunlight, but it's to be determined. Now I have been caught up with some absurdities and trying to also get this done, so I actually forgot to eat earlier, and it's getting about 5 p.m., so I've got some leftover rigatoni with beef brisket heating up on the stove, and I'm going to take a break from this. But even if this is my primary thing I get done today, I'll be okay with that. I am going to go ahead and pop in my scarlet runner bean right over here. I figured I'd start clearing more space. I'm going to just dig it in. I don't know how deep I'll be able to get with these roots, but I just am probably not going to bother with my pole, so I'm just going to let it grow all up on here. And then I have so many different kinds of like beans that I want to try to grow of old seeds, and I don't know if I might be too lazy to get my ash pole set up, so I'm going to see if these will sprout, and I'm just going to get rid of some of this grass and put them along this massive white lilac grove, because I don't know, you can kind of see the main lilac bush that was originally planted back in there, and then it just keeps expanding, and I'm not sure, since I don't know the specific varietal of white lilac this is, I'm not sure if I'll be able to dig any of those up and resell them. But in any case, I've got a high bush American cranberry that I put in maybe 3 years ago that's in there that I need to pull the grass around, but I'm going to be putting in some beans. I think some of these I'm just going to start in little pots and then sit them in their little home next to the white lilac after they get started a little bit. And that'll give me some time to get rid of some of this grass. But the scarlet runner is going to go ahead and go in. I very much want to get some more seeds off of that this year and then do my experiment to see if it can survive in my zone with like just super, super heavy mulching if I plant a couple on the south side of the house, because it's a perennial only down to zone 6, and again, I'm in a colder zone than that. So we'll see, but I don't know. I'm quite hungry and it's caught up with me, so I'll check back in with you all later, and I'm hoping to get some kale and chard planted in through here. But again, those seeds, some of those seeds are even older than just 3 years old. So it's tough. I have a package of Napa cabbage that is a new pack of seeds that I really want to harvest a lot off of for my kimchi. So this area may be my kimchi patch, but I may just throw in a little bit of chard and kale for some nutritional diversity. We'll see. Now, while I'm waiting for my dinner to cool down, I just wanted to show you guys real quick what I had to do this morning. So I came out to check on my giant colewort that I put down here in the mound. And again, a lot of the root ball of this is actually above ground level. And so it's more susceptible to drying out even faster. And then it's got these broad leaves. And so when I came out this morning, the leaves were just completely wilted. And I had gotten out to them later this morning than I had initially planned to. So I just put out this fabric across these things as like a makeshift shade structure, which I was expecting it was going to be pretty likely that I was going to have to do that, because it is going to take some time for these roots to get down into a good place where they're pulling up enough water to support these broad leaves on their own. So with a good bit of water and the shade, the leaves have just perked right back up and are actually standing up off the ground again and not just entirely wilted. So, you know, it's one of those things that if you're a busy person and you end up putting a bigger thing in the ground like this with these really broad leaves that just a lot of water in the plant is kind of evaporating off of, you want to probably just go ahead and shade it preemptively. But it's looking happy now, so I'm just going to kind of leave this thing on here for a while. And it is going to have to reacclimate to the sun later, but at least it's going to be able to survive a little bit better. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, anyways, I basically inhaled my food and I was back out here. But I decided, since one of my goals was to try to get at least one of each of the perennials that I have, because some of them, like the Mad Dog Skullcap, I may have like 7 started. But I wanted to get at least one of each in the ground, so even though this is not the ideal area for a Mad Dog Skullcap plant, this is where I put it. And I don't know what's going to happen to the rest. But, you know, this is medicinal and it has pretty flowers on it. I put in a lemon balm, Greek oregano, blue hyssop, thyme, calamintha, oregano vulgare. So, you know, these are all perennial herbal medicinals and with flowers. Some have better flowers than others. But I'm exhausted. I had thought about putting this germander out here. And then I was just checking how big does this thing get, you know, and it said 6 foot tall possibly, so I couldn't just stick it up here because this stuff is like 3 foot max, and then I'm going to have my Hablitzia, and a lot of these things are going to end up getting moved, but that is like in the fall or next spring or something. So out of an entire package of sea kale seeds, I can't remember if it was 2 packages or not, I only had 3 regular sea kales germinate. So I want to get at least one of those in the ground. And then I've decided, you know, I've got those push caramels and those verbascum and valerian and all these big things, and I'm not going to have a proper bed ready for them for a while. So what I'm going to do, since the grass isn't growing too crazy here, because it's been kind of hot, I don't have my tiller, but I am going to, well, first of all, dig out those autumn olives right here, okay? And then I'm just going to maybe brush cut just a little bit more through here and then lay down another row of weed cloth, except instead of it being open for a potted area, I am going to put some stuff up in here. Just because I know I'm going to be watering this area, because I have to water that anyways. And part of the reason why I wanted to go ahead and stick some of these younger perennials that I started earlier this year over here is because I'm going to be trying to keep this area diligently watered. So anyways, I'm not quite done tonight. I don't know how much more I'm going to get done out here. I'm tired. I was going to try to take a semi-rest day today anyways, and it hasn't entirely worked out like that. But before I keep going, I'm just going to go ahead and water all of this stuff in real good. Now, one thing I did do that, I don't know, maybe isn't proper, is when I planted some things up over here, I dug these trenches. And so, for example, this is zucchini. But the zucchini seeds are not in the trench on this. I actually have them on both sides of the trench. And then over here I have some radish seeds. And again, I don't know if any of this particular area is going to sprout because the seeds are old. Because even if I bought them 3 years ago, I don't really know how old they were before that. But the whole idea is hopefully I'll be able to harvest the radishes before the zucchinis get massive, because radishes can be ready quite early. And then the zucchini, I did the same thing. I planted the seeds on, or the cucumber rather, I planted the seeds on the side of the trench. Because the whole idea is this area, the ground isn't super great. It's going to be really dry. And so when I just water here, I want a lot of the water to really capture in these trenches and soak into the roots. But then when I did the cilantros, for example, over here, I did actually put the seeds in the trench. And then some of those other things, I actually put the seeds in the trench. So it kind of depends on what kind of plant you're dealing with. You know, some people do cucumbers and zucchinis and mounds and things like that, but I'm not really messing with that. But anyways, I got a lot of work every day. I gotta get a lot of work done. So anyways, I think that's it for today. And then if I get more done out here, perhaps I'll try to issue a status report tomorrow or something like that. Josephine's got a bird. This is what I'm talking about. She gets the burdocks stuck up in her and she's got to bite them out. It's like very unpleasant. But yeah, we'll see how this Korean perilla and the gomtwi and things like that work out. And I really do hope to have a good Napa cabbage harvest this year. And then even if I put that out here, I may have to put up a shade structure over it. We're going to see how that goes. Because originally I thought, oh, I'm going to put my Napa through there, my Napa cabbage. But I decided that would be better used for some other things. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, you know, sometimes shade structures can be simple. Like this giant colewort right over here, this little one, has been really sad because it just wasn't super well established and it is younger than the other ones. And it was having issues. So kind of throughout the day while I'm over here, I just move this pot around depending on where the sun is. And it's not always perfect, but it does give it more shade, quite a bit of shade for a good amount of the day as I move this pot around. So that is my shade structure for this giant colewort anyways. And hopefully as it puts in some deep roots, it'll be feeling happier. I mean, already, because for quite a while I was very sad, but already it's looking a little happier. So that's good. Anyways, take it easy, y'all. Oh, you know how I'm always faking you guys out on when my video is or isn't over? But, so, my scarlet runner bean, I did dig a hole and stick it in the ground. And it was kind of funny because there wasn't very many roots at the top of the pot, despite the fact that the stems were coming up out of the top of the pot. It's like all the roots were kind of centered around the bottom, so it was a little bit weird because the dirt was just falling away at the top and it was a little awkward, and I'm not sure how beat up it got. But this thing, it was doing really great when I started it. It was just growing so huge, so fast. And then it was so big, I did not stick it in the trunk when I drove across the country, the 2,500-mile trip, and it was in the car, and it got kind of like, battered by the sun, and then battered when it was neglected when I got back. And even though, well over a month ago, it had been putting out all these little tiny flower buds everywhere, just now it's taken another month to recover to the point that it is putting out little baby flower buds again. So I'm hopeful. It seems vigorous as long as it just gets a little bit of attention. I didn't feel like cleaning up an ash pole, so I just grabbed one of these. I think it's like a eastern or western cypress. It's debatable what exactly this evergreen is, but I just grabbed a pole that I cut off previously from over there and kind of dug it in just a little. And well, anyways, I have all these, so many different kinds of bees. I don't know if you can see, this one is all up on me, probably because I'm sweaty, but I thought maybe, well, the flowers should help a little bit attract the bees, but they've been buzzing all around me this whole time because they like to come out here for my little wild raspberry jungle that I got going on over there, up in here. And they come out here for the lilac when it's blooming, but yeah, it's kind of nice because I just get to watch all the different sizes of bees buzzing around, and we'll see when I start to get little fruits off of these. And the fruits are so little, but they're still tasty. But it's like, it takes forever to harvest, and it's like they're not as juicy as some commercial varieties, but they are still healthy and nutritionally dense. I just don't really go through the effort of preserving them. And then, I have dried some of them before, and they're just okay, but they're free and I like them. And again, you can make tea out of these leaves. It's a little bit medicinal. So I have a lot of work coming in through here. I do need to try to get in through here with the brush cutter. And this will put off all these little wild bitter grapes that are interesting. But yeah, I gotta clear out this raspberry grape jungle, autumn olive jungle, and then try to build a little, outdoor area for my flock out here, because their coop is inside on the other side of that battered siding in the garage. So that's part of it. I've been trying to accumulate the landscape timbers, but I gotta check and see if Home Depot has any more, because the landscape timbers that they don't always have, that I've been accumulating, they're much lighter than the really heavy posts, and they're about half the price. So if one falls, it's maybe not going to cause as much damage or be less likely to fall since it's not quite as heavy. So I'm going to see if I can use those to do a fenced run for my birds, and then eventually I'll even be able to put a couple of like duck houses and goose houses out in the covered run. And then, the way you have to do it is that you don't just have to put fencing on the side and then towards the bottom, hardware wire on the bottom, because the raccoons will just reach in, but then you have to actually fence the top very, very, very well. So I'll even have to overlap the fencing like up the siding and stuff like that, because the raccoons are just break-in artists. And then the fencing on the sidewalls, you have to actually have come out a couple of feet off of the posts, 2 or 3 feet, so that when the raccoons start trying to dig under, they can't get under. And it's tough because the electric wire, one of these things, it's like if you have a single blade of grass touch the wire, it shorts it out. So if you want high security, you really got to cover the top and then have the fencing come out over the ground. I mean, some people dig it in, but I just don't have the kind of energy to dig in fencing on a, hopefully, it's maybe going to start out maybe 16 foot, and then I want to eventually extend it to basically come out to here. And I'm going to probably build it around this ash tree, because even though I'm going to have to cut this down again later, it's like it will provide me with some firewood, because we have that emerald ash borer. It'll provide me with some firewood and posts and things like that. But anyways, we'll see how these scarlet runner bean flowers end up looking, because my main priority now. I am going to also see if I can get this one to overwinter. I'm just going to like throw like mulch, like maybe 3 bags worth of mulch on top of it and then unbury it in the spring just to see. Because, again, they say you can do zone 5 perennial with these if you super heavy mulch them. But this year I mostly want to get a whole bunch of seeds off of it. And then I'll try the south side one too. I'll plant my 2 other seeds on the south side of the house to see if I can overwinter them. But anyways, I'm crashing out. I got just enough ice cream left for a Guinness stout float, you guys. So that's what I'm going to do. Take it easy.